Speaking of Mustangs, we watched Lord of the Rings, which has a horde of it.
That was a stretch.
This is so stupid!
You're like, go.
Yeah, I totally made that up. We need to find a new game. I don't mean that to trick you. I'm just like, that's surprising.
That's exactly what it's meant for.
I like it when it's just there's a bad guy and he's bad. Just eat cheese.
Man!
Yeah. This is a good morning on this particular morning. A little nipply out. I mean, nippy.
I can't breathe.
Really? Oh, wait.
I'm not that in. Magic chair.
Welcome, everyone, to a new mini-series show I'm calling Pocket Reviews. This is a show where I, your host, Andrew Luttrell, will be watching a movie, giving a short 15 to 20 minute long review, and most of the time sharing my thoughts with a guest. This guest will be sharing their thoughts and opinions as well on the movie that we watched. While it is not a Patreon exclusive miniseries, this show is always going to be brought to you by the Talk This Way podcast Patreon. For those of you who don't know, Patreon is a place where people can go to support their favorite creators while getting awesome benefits in return. By joining one of the tiers your creator offers, you will get different benefits. For example, the Talk This Way podcast's Patreon tier for $3 a month, otherwise known as the J.J. Abrams tier, will give you early access to content, discount codes for merch and other products, special Patreon shoutouts, and a free sticker. This is just one of the 5 different tiers that the Talk This Way podcast Patreon has to offer you. So be sure to check it out if you enjoy our content and want to support us, as well as get awesome exclusives. The link is in the bio of the episode. Now, we watched The Suicide Squad 2021, which is not a direct sequel per se. It is a sort of sequel to the original Suicide Squad film that came out in 2016. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, number one, I highly recommend you go see it because this will be kind of spoilery. But then also, I would recommend you go see it, even if you've seen the first one or quote-unquote the original from 2016, this one is way better than that one. But again, for those of you who haven't seen it and are not really interested, I guess, in going to see it, or you forget what the storyline is, here's a brief story summary. Supervillains Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and a collection of nutty cons at Belle Prison join the super secret, super shady Task Force X as they are dropped off at the remote, enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese. While the story summary ends there is actually a lot more to that movie, or this movie. Unlike the first Suicide Squad, if you've seen it, this movie, it's not like a video game in a sense where, like the first one, where it was like almost as if they were going through levels until they get to the big boss fight at the end. In this one, there's actually a story that is trying to be told while they're going on this mission, as well as twists and turns, surprises and things you didn't expect. And that seems to happen a lot in this movie. And then also, like, just the characters are so much better and so much more well written and acted, even though a lot of the actors are the same. And again, this is spoiler territory, but a lot of people die. A lot of characters die within the first 10 minutes of the movie. So if you want to go see it, even though I just spoiled a huge thing, I would still go see it, but, just keep that in mind so you're not as shocked. All right, so the Suicide Squad, which, that's the difference between the two movies, is the first one's just Suicide Squad, and this one that just came out on August 5th, 2021, is called The Suicide Squad. Its budget was $185 million. Opening weekend in U.S. and in Canada, because it was filmed in Canada, was $26,205,415, and that was the weekend, the day it was released on August 5th to August 8th. And then up to date, today, gross worldwide, it's made $118 million. So it has not made back its budget yet. But, again, this just came out like a week or two ago. So definitely still lots of hope and potential for it to make that much. At least make its budget back. And I really, really hope it does, because it was so much better than the first one. And obviously the budget is so much more, and that's mainly on CGI. So, but we'll talk more about that after the break. So I will start with a icebreaker question. which is
All
a
right.
simple question, and that is, what's your favorite movie and why?
Well, I've said it before in the podcast a lot. It's pretty tied up for me, I think. But if I were to choose, I'd probably say The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
What's funny about it is the critics actually hate it for the weirdest reason, and one reason only is because it's not realistic to how would react to that kind of situation. I think someone in a quote said like it feels just like a dream, like it would never happen. Or like, in my reaction to that, it's kind of like, well, aren't you just a ray of sunshine then, huh?
Right.
Right. You know, we're about to turn this into a Walter Mitty review.
I know, right? Yeah. We are going to do that though, for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, so me and my guest here, Brandon, which is also my co-host for the main show, went to go see The Suicide Squad, 2021, obviously, not the 2016 one. And so I have some questions for you, Brandon, just about this movie. So the first question I have for you is, what was your expectation going into this movie?
Well, I expected a James Gunn film, and I pretty much got exactly what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
But I would say more. Like, I didn't really expect a lot of emotion behind it, I guess. And there wasn't nearly as much as Guardians, I'll give it that. But
Right.
like, overall, he knew what he was doing with the absurd idea he threw into it, you know?
Right. And it was definitely absurd.
Yeah, I expected absurd, and I got absurd.
And it's funny too, because my expectation was just anything better than the first movie or the 2016 one. And I definitely got that.
Yeah, I expected something that WB would give the director more loose. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They were really uptight with the first one.
Oh, yeah. The second question is, now that you've seen the movie, what is your opinion on it? So not like your full review of it, but like just what, now that you've seen it, you had that expectation going in. So now that you've already seen it and you said it kind of matched your expectation, is that all, or did it really just, is that it?
I think it could have been better, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like it focused a little too hard in the comedic aspect a lot of times, which I'm not really complaining about. But
right.
In the retrospective to critics, I'm kind of like, it's not the perfect movie, and a lot of critics are saying.
Yeah,
I love it, and
absolutely.
I would love to see it again. King Shark is like my favorite thing ever now.
He's like I don't want to compare him to the Hulk, but he's just like,
it's more like Groot. Like,
yes, exactly. Exactly. That's a way better comparison.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part about this movie, or favorite scene? I know there's a lot. Like, that's what I had a hard time thinking about when I was asking myself these questions.
There is a lot. It's like the whole movie, it's like you can't really get a breath in for the most part.
Right, exactly.
It's like it doesn't stop for a second where you go to really absorb a particular scene. Like, I'm sure the movie was shot well and everything else, but I didn't have time to notice the small details.
I know. That's why we need to go see it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it again, just not in theaters. We don't have that kind of money.
Right. Because I felt the same way. Like, when the movie ended, I was like,
like, I need to go watch something boring now.
Right, exactly.
I guess one of my favorite parts was probably the acting. And more specifically, Sylvester Stallone doing King Shark.
Yes.
It's very, very small details, but just he kind of stole the show there. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah. No, he did. He
Two
did.
dumb friends.
Right. Again, as I was asking myself this question, I was like, man, what is my favorite part? And I'm not gonna lie, it's probably at not the very, very beginning, but more towards the beginning, when the second team comes in and kills all the good guys. Like, that I was not expecting that at all. Like, that was a total twist and turn, and just everybody's reaction. I was like, oh, like, he's so damn funny.
Like, you'll know what I mean when he said, when I say he kind of like took a little bit from The Hunt.
Yes,
Like
yes.
that first entire like 10-minute sequence was like everybody you thought was going to be in the movie was going to die. It was crazy.
Oh my
Pulled an
gosh, it was
Infinity
so
War
good.
ahead of time.
Literally. Oh, it's so good. And I like that too. Like I
Yeah.
hate that they killed off the boomerang guy because he was honestly my favorite from the original. But
But he had the balls to do it.
you said from the second question on your opinion that you think it could have been better. So what would you have changed to make it better? Or what would, like, if you were in the director's seat, what would you have done?
Yeah, so I'm not really like an expert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a fan.
Right.
If I really could change anything, I think I would make it longer. Longer as in like more breaks, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long movie, I guess, on average, compared to Endgame at least.
Right.
Pretty long. But it just doesn't stop like the whole time. There's not a lot of breathing room, and I think that's something I'd probably change.
Yeah.
But then again, this is a James Gunn film.
In Guardians of the Galaxy, like even though it's still a James Gunn film, I feel like it had breathing room. Like that part when they were in prison to me is breathing room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was like it was calm, but things were still happening. People were building towards something. You were also introducing other characters. Like there was still stuff happening, but it wasn't like people's faces and arms being blown off. You know?
Yeah.
Well, except for that one guy, raccoon stole his leg. But not to talk about that.
Like this question would be a lot easier for another director because James Gunn he does what he wants, so it's kind of he's not like a let's say Zack Snyder, right? Like he gets paid to make something specific. Yeah. And James Gunn makes whatever the hell he wants. It's like it's hard to criticize art, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because a lot of people think it's a masterpiece, and others would be like, it could have been better,
Cool, man. All right. Well, hey, thanks again.
Yes, sir.
So here's a couple pieces of trivia that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Obviously, in this mini-series, we're not going to do 2 truths and a lie like we do in the main one. But in this one, I want to talk about and give you guys sort of just a couple pieces that I thought was very, very interesting about this movie. So the first piece of trivia is that Suicide Squad from 2016 director David Ayer wished James Gunn all the best for directing the sequel. Ayer felt unsatisfied with the first film as Warner Brothers ordered a 10-week reshoot and changed most of the film from Ayer's original vision. And I say that because I liked the first Suicide Squad movie when it first came out. Because I was kind of watching it for the Joker. He's my favorite character. And then as I was watching it, like I watched it maybe 2 or 3 times, and every time I watched it, it got less and less good. And the reason for that is because I realized what was happening. And just like this piece of trivia said, Warner Brothers had way too much involvement in this. They controlled a lot. And then not only did they control it, but they ordered a 10-week reshoot, which for movies, that is a horrible, horrible thing to do. There's not a lot of movies that come out of that after that long of a reshoot that end up being very good. If there are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know of any personally. And most of the ones that I do know of that were reshot ended up being not great. The second piece of trivia is one of the on-set rats was named after Chris Pratt, but they called him Crisp Rat with 2 T's. The third trivia is that this film was filmed entirely with IMAX certified red RED cameras. This is the first R-rated movie to be filmed entirely in IMAX, which is, it's not that big of a deal because there's a lot of movies that are filmed in IMAX right now, but it's kind of cool that James Gunn got the privilege of being able to be the first director for an R-rated film that was filmed entirely in IMAX, using the red RED cameras, which are there's only 6, I think, that exist in the whole world. I mean, they're slowly making more, but they're millions of dollars to make. They are so expensive. And then to rent them to make these movies is in the hundreds of thousands. I want to give you guys a Rotten Tomatoes review, or whatever you want to call it, about this movie. So as of right now, which is recording this episode on August 16th, 2021, the tomato meter for The Suicide Squad is 91%, which is like the, critics' review, basically. The audience score, which is you and me, is 83%. So they're pretty close. They're not too far off. This movie did a really good job of meeting both reviewers' expectations. Comparatively, the 2016 Suicide Squad tomato meter was 26%. And the audience score was 59%. So, yeah, way more improvement there. If you guys could rate this movie 1 out of 100 giant eyeball swimming pools, how many would it be? I personally would probably give this movie like a solid 80. It wasn't that it was bad. It was really, really good. It's a really good film. It was just a lot. There was a lot happening, a lot going on, and a lot of things that your brain is constantly thinking about and just being occupied with the entire time of the movie. Like, there's no lull. There's no dull moment in this movie. So I had to wait a while before I watched it again. Yeah, I would definitely give this an 80. So be sure to leave your guys' answer in the comments below, or message us on Patreon with your answer. That would be great too. So yeah, thank you guys for listening to our short episode and our new mini-series. And be sure to check out our Patreon. We would really, really appreciate that. And also, it's been great having just the few Patreons that we've had recently. It's just really fun to be able to create more content and do more things for them and for you guys. Patreon is just an excuse for me to be able to do more. Obviously, there's money involved, so, it's a little bit easier for me to justify it. But, from the beginning, this has been a hobby for me personally. But as we grow and as more things happen, and hopefully as more people join the Patreon, this can turn into something big, something huge, and you guys get to be a part of it. So that's what we're inviting you to, is to be a foundation, a building block into Talk This Way podcast's future. So anyway, again, thank you guys for listening. Be sure to check out the Patreon, and stay tuned for our main show. We are finishing up the Steven Spielberg trilogy. We're ending it with Jaws, so be sure to check that out. Anyway, thank you guys. Bye-bye.